over 50% of people, so the majority of people in the last year, according to the research that we've done, have experienced both content that's kind of false or fake and been subject to some sort of fraud. Mm-hmm. So people are personally starting to question, is this real and is it not? Mm. So then there's a cost for them, both the sort of cognitive load of trying to figure out, is it real, is it trustworthy, can I go for this, am I gonna fall victim to something? But also they might be missing out because they hesitate, and this has happened to me and my co-author of the report as well. His daughter sent him a link to this new Oasis concert, and he didn't trust the link, so he didn't click, and they didn't get tickets.
Right.
So there might be a cost for the individual, but there's also a cost for businesses.
So Olof, at Accenture Song, you published this annual life trends reports for 17 years.
That's right, 17 years, yeah.
So when I read your 2025 report, my feeling is this report eloquently articulates a lot of various concerns that we had sensed for a long time, but had struggled to express. So it's nicely put. So just tell us a bit more about the report. Why do you do this? How do you do this? And your feedback you get?
So the background to it is essentially a design trends report. So that's how it started 17 years ago. And I work now, pretty much every client project is sort of a fusion of business needs, technology, and then humans. So really the trend report sits in the intersection of those, and what the Song team sort of uniquely brings that other parts of Accenture doesn't necessarily bring is that focus on the human.
Right.
So that's kind of where it comes from, what it focuses on, and it's meant to sort of inspire and inform our clients, but also challenge our teams in their projects and so on to take it into account.
Right. So it's very interesting. Yesterday you gave a speech. That speech was more about how enabling technology can become. For example, it makes space more sensible, more responsible. But today we're going to delve into the report, which you spotted 5 trends for the next year, and collectively they sort of paint a darker side of technology. They look at the often very stressful relationship it has become between human beings and technology. So let's have a look into the report and perhaps talk about the themes one by one. So I'm really struck by this. This is the first trend you spotted, which is called the cost of hesitations. It's about the loss of trust that we have, in any digital interactions, and brands have lost authenticity with all the message they send out. It sometimes become confusing. So how do business regain that authenticity and regain people's trust?
Yeah, so it's interesting that you interpret the trends as kind of dark, because for me they sort of expose some of the tensions, the tensions between an increasingly digitally mediated life of people, and some of the opportunities but also challenges within it. So this one in particular, cost of hesitations, that's very much about sort of the evolution of digital media. And the reaction that people are having when they don't necessarily know whether they can trust the content, the brand, the communication, the promotion, and so on. So it sort of gives rise to this sort of question mark, which leads to hesitation. And there's a real sort of underlying pattern that's been going for a while of what some people might call the shitification of the internet. And slop is another kind of term that started to be used for essentially either untrustworthy or poor content. And people feel like there's a lot of stuff coming at them in digital because people want to monetize digital. So there's just a lot of information, a lot of promotion, a lot of marketing coming at them. So that's already demanding. And then over 50% of people, so the majority of people in the last year, according to the research that we've done, have experienced both content that's kind of false or fake and been subject to some sort of fraud. So people are personally starting to question, is this real and is it not? So then there's a cost for them, both the sort of cognitive load of trying to figure out, is it real, is it trustworthy, can I go for this, am I gonna fall victim to something? But also they might be missing out because they hesitate, and this has happened to me and my co-author of the report as well. His daughter sent him a link to this new Oasis concert, and he didn't trust the link, so he didn't click, and they didn't get tickets.
Right.
So there might be a cost for the individual, but there's also a cost for businesses. So if you don't trust whether this website is actually real, is this product description and this product review, are they real? And so on, you might not follow through with the purchase. So that's becoming a real business problem. One big consumer electronics manufacturer that we're working with discovered just recently that the drop-off in purchases was very much to do with people asking, am I actually on the real.com site, or am I somewhere else?
Yeah. So AI can enable business to know their customers better, that's for sure. But AI technology can also create a barrier between companies and their customers, because it just makes less, necessary for companies to have human-to-human real interactions. One example is Starbucks in China. They're having problems. They got so caught up in trying to match their local competitors in enabling their customers to order digitally. So they pissed off some of their loyal customers who are really interested and are curious about their third space idea. So another example I want to use is, in China, this live stream e-commerce becomes really popular. So you have people can, on screen, they can see hosts selling their stuff. But some companies are using AI-generated hosts these days. So as a customer, you can just look at the screen thinking, okay, this person is talking to me, selling me stuff, and even answer my questions. But once you find out they are actually fake ones, it can be really off-putting. So, so technologies can create this barrier. So how is Accenture helping business to sort of prevent this from happening?
So specific to sort of Gen AI, is this incredible tool that allows us to do all sorts of things that we couldn't do a few years ago. But it can be used, of course, for good, but also for bad. So those who want to spam people, those who want to defraud people, and so on, they readily can use Gen AI. And that is leading to the sort of pollution, in a way, of the content and therefore cost of hesitations, that sort of phenomenon. And from our perspective, we have a big focus, and have had for years, on responsible AI. And that's about ethics, it's about reliability, it's about building trust, etc. So it's core to how we think about AI and Gen AI. But then there's also very much sort of the human and design consideration there. So you can use Gen AI to simplify, make it more seamless, identify the human so it feels natural to me, I can follow through, I trust it, and so on.
Right.
But it can also get in the way. It can get in the way if it's implemented poorly, and then I'm like, am I actually speaking to a real person?
Yeah.
Do I really trust the information that's provided here, and so on? So it's a nuanced answer. It's not an easy yes or no, good or bad, easy or hard.
You think as technology gets better, it will become even more, difficult for us to discern which real and what's, fake. That's probably, make things a little bit easier for companies.
Yeah.
To use tech.
Yeah, for sure. And the sort of agent space is also evolving quite quickly. That we've seen sort of actually just recently a move away from the sort of humanized digital agents, because there's been a little bit of a reaction against it, that these sort of fake humans that aren't real humans.
Right.
So I think that the space is evolving really, really fast as well.
Let's have a look of the next trend, which is really thought-provoking. As a parent of a young boy, I'm in this trap at the moment. So tell us a bit more about this. So we're fearful about all the interactions our children have online.
Yeah, so it was talked about actually in some of the, or mentioned at least by some of the previous speakers, the challenges around mental health, the challenges around a feeling of anxiety. There's an interesting book that came out this year called The Anxious Generation, talking about young people and the effect of, in particular, social media on them. And harmful content, but also overuse of digital,
right.
etc. is a real thing. And I don't, I have 2 teenage kids, and I don't know any other parent of similar age kids who don't struggle with that sort of interplay. So it's a tough trap for parents. How do you give safety? How do you get social connection? How do you give learning and education and so on to your kids without exposing them to the sort of harmful nature of social media and digital? So it is a tough trap for parents, but it's also a trap because adults, their lives are also mediated through social media and digital and so on, and you want a role model for your kids.
Yes.
So it's not easy to just say no and then you kind of behave badly yourself. It's also a tricky balance.
Yes, we have to behave ourselves as well, right? So the third theme is impatience economy. This is interesting. Basically, customers are not waiting for companies to feed them information. They reach out and they sometimes seek quicker solutions. So this is about how businesses should supply their customers with quicker solutions, but without compromising on quality. Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's right, and it affects lots of different aspects of life. So, for example, in healthcare, self-diagnosis, with the help of you might watch YouTube videos, or you might learn in other ways through digital, and you listen to influencers, etc. So it might be diagnosis, it might be things like money matters, etc. So people might not wait for their hospital appointment or doctor's appointment. They might not want to go and talk to the bank manager or speak to them or whatever, but they look for other shortcuts, essentially, to accomplish the things that they want to do in their lives.
Well, I want to go through this quickly because I want to really focus on the 5th trend, which is social rewilding. This is a concept really interesting to me and appealing to me. So could you just define this concept to us? What is social rewilding about?
Yeah.
And the trend, the forces behind this trend.
Yeah, I'm glad you want to focus on it because it's actually my favorite of the 5 trends as well. So I find it absolutely fascinating. And rewilding as a word has usually been used for rewilding, for example, manufacture like farms and so on back into the natural habitat and so on. So this trend is all about humans kind of rewilding. So reconnecting with the real world, looking for more textured social interactions, emotional experiences and so on. And you could say it's a counter trend to what happened through COVID. It's also a counter trend to this sort of what felt even recently as a sort of unstoppable increase of digital in our lives. So it's super interesting. You see things like people falling out of love with digital dating solutions, and instead, going back to old school forms of dating.
We just want to unplug.
That's right. Yeah, unplug. Yeah, and meet people in real life. So things like in China, for example, city walking tours are a big thing. Running clubs are a big thing all over the world. So people have these sort of in-person ways of socializing and so on. And the natural world plays a huge role. So when you ask people, what was the best experience in the last week or month, the majority talk about a real-world experience, and it's multiple times that of people mentioning digital experiences.
Right. So specifically, how would you help businesses to create such textured interaction, regain this human-to-human kind of feeling?
Yeah, I think it's now about kind of we're at the stage where we're starting to sort of civilize some of these technologies, where it's not an either-or, and people don't get locked just into a virtual world, but you use the digital experience to augment and amplify real-world interactions and so on. But you also see people themselves kind of reorganizing around it, and you know, kids are choosing to put their phones away. Kids are choosing to do other things, and you look at young kids and what are they into? There's actually a nostalgia for the pre-digital age in the digital generation. So people kind of fall in love with these music videos from the 90s, and the music of the 90s.
And the games.
And the games, and and this sort of like
cartoons.
they're nostalgic for, like, they look like they're really in the moment, and they look so unaffected, and so on and so forth. You know, I discovered my kid has LPs, vinyls at home. It's like, what's going on?
So this is an amazing report. I really encourage everybody to have a look on Accenture Song's website. It's really thought-provoking, and thank you so much for sharing with us. Basically, it just tells us, I mean, how designers these days are challenged when everybody wants to unplug, to how to design digital experiences that coexist with our desire for real human-to-human interactions. Thank you very much, Olof.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.